Thursday, 23 July 2026. 3 Asia-Pacific AI stories before your first coffee. Tokyo's Personal Information Protection Commission has amended Japan's privacy law to open a narrow, consent-free path for using personal data in AI model training, provided the data is used solely for that defined purpose. The carve-out is purpose-bound. Any secondary use of the same data restores standard consent requirements. And the reform also grants the Commission new administrative surcharge powers for violations. Full operation of the AI provision is not expected until around 2028, but the legal signal is already live and sets Japan apart from the stricter consent frameworks in Korea, Singapore, and the EU. Why it matters. For AI builders operating across Asia, Japan is now the most permissive major market on training data access, but the permission comes with a tight leash. Teams that architect their data pipelines around a single, documented training purpose can move faster than competitors locked into consent collection cycles in Seoul or Brussels. Capital allocators should watch whether this draws more foundation model work to Japanese data centers before the 2028 full enforcement date. The second-order effect worth tracking is regulatory contagion. If Japan's purpose-bound model proves workable, Singapore's PDPC and Korea's PIPC will face pressure from their own AI industries to match it, potentially triggering a regional race to clarify training data rules on similar terms. So, Shanghai is now home to the World Artificial Intelligence Cooperation Organization, a China-led intergovernmental body that launched with 29 signatories, including Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Pakistan. China's foreign ministry calls WICO the first intergovernmental organization dedicated to AI, positioning it as a governance vehicle for the global south. Beijing has pledged AI training programs, joint cooperation centers, and 5,000 exchange places over 5 years for developing countries as part of the founding package. Why it matters. WICO gives Beijing a formal multilateral channel to shape AI norms across developing Asia before Western frameworks take root. For ASEAN members already inside the tent, the immediate draw is capacity building, training pipelines, compute access, and technical cooperation that most of these governments cannot fund domestically. Capital allocators should watch whether WICO membership becomes a soft prerequisite for Chinese AI infrastructure deals in Southeast Asia, similar to how Belt and Road MOUs preceded physical infrastructure contracts. Builders operating across the region now face a potential second standards track, running parallel to the OECD and G7 Hiroshima process, which means compliance teams need to map which markets align with which governance orbit. The second order effect to track is whether WICO produces binding technical standards or stays a talk shop. Seoul's Ministry of Science and ICT has opened bidding for AI for All, a free, uncapped national AI assistant available to every South Korean resident, with the hold condition that operators must run the majority of queries on certified Korean foundation models, rather than foreign systems. The state will supply NVIDIA accelerators to winning bidders and, from 2027, cover ongoing compute costs from the national budget. Proposals close on 11 August. A public beta is targeted for September, and a full nationwide rollout is planned by the end of 2026. Why it matters. This is industrial policy dressed as a public service. By mandating that most inference runs on domestic models, Seoul is channeling guaranteed government-scale demand to Korean AI labs at exactly the moment they need it to close the gap with US and Chinese frontier systems. Builders working on Korean language foundation models now have a procurement runway backed by sovereign compute and recurring budget lines. Foreign model providers, including OpenAI and Anthropic, can still participate, but only as minority influence partners, which limits their foothold in one of Asia's most digitally mature markets. Capital allocators should watch whether the certified model list, tied to the 14 July enforcement decree under the AI Basic Act, becomes a de facto licensing gate that other APAC governments replicate. That is your AI in Asia briefing for today. Stay sharp, built well, see you tomorrow.